sitting by the fire. My grandma said to your grandma, it's breakfast with Bob.
And Poncho Man. We are brought to you by EAS Mileplex, Polar, Hoka One One, VeloFix, Norma Tech, Four Seasons Walleye. We'll be hosting our championship edition on Sunday. And Emio Power Breather, our next guest, Mr. Barry Siff, the president of USA Triathlon. Thank you so much for being here. Rocky Harris, the new CEO of USA Triathlon. Welcome.
Thanks for having us, Bob.
Is this the first Kona for you?
It is, yeah.
How fun is this?
Incredible. Amazing experience.
Yeah, it's a little different than anything else.
Nothing like it in the world.
So, Rocky, as the new CEO, you come into a sport that's been around, since '74. Got into the Olympics in 2000. Has been on a major role, moving up, and in the last couple of years, there's been a little bit of a downtrend. What are your thoughts on getting us back to where we need to be?
Yeah, I think we are at a crossroads right now in our sport, and the reason why I was brought in is I think we have to re-energize and rethink the way we're doing everything, how we're running our events, how we're communicating to people, and really try to reach a new audience. We want new participants into our sport. We want to get people who like exercising, want to have healthy lives, and we want to get them to recruit them into our sport. Because once you get in and you get a taste of it, there's nothing like it.
There's nothing. No,
nothing like it.
It changes your life forever.
It does. It does.
And so for you, Barry, who's been in this since the earth was cooling, to see the energy that Rocky brings to the table has to be invigorating for you.
It's been incredible. Even the last couple of days here, everyone we meet, after we leave, they write me, they call me, they say, boy, oh boy, we're excited. He just brings an excitement, enthusiasm. I call it a youthful exuberance, which dates us a little bit. But
I love that since I'm 40.
His perspective on everything is exactly what we needed and what we need and what the sport needs. It's fantastic.
So for both of you guys, USA Triathlon has invested pretty heavily in NCAA the last number of years. The value of that, and Rocky's a guy who comes from the collegiate side. What do you see the value there?
Yeah, we need for younger kids to really have something to aspire to do, and collegiate athletics is one of those steps. It's a great pipeline for us to build talent, but it also really is, it gives us a brand and exposure and credibility among Americans.
Right.
NCAA sport brings credibility. And so for us, we announced our 16th school today. We're going to be up over 25 by the end of next year.
And still women's only.
Yeah, right now. And we're also looking at alternative ways to bring men into the sport and have them have an opportunity at universities. And we'll make some announcements on that over the next few months as well.
So with the collegiate side, championships, and you're seeing pretty significant growth.
We're definitely seeing significant growth. On the college club side, we still have 160 collegiate clubs, which is huge across the country. But the NCAA program has been fantastic. And an interesting note on Rocky is he's the guy that brought it to Arizona State, who are the national champions. But more than that, over the past year, way before we ever thought about hiring Rocky, he was going around the country speaking on our behalf to different colleges,
saying you need to bring triathlon.
You need to bring triathlon there on behalf of USA Triathlon, because he was such a great spokesperson, and now he's at the top level to do that.
So what did it at Arizona State? How did it impact that university having triathlon involved?
We won the national championship, was great, but it was more than that. What it did is it allowed us. Our student athletes there had a 3.7 GPA. They're incredible kids. They're incredible humans, and allowed us to go out and really select the best kids around the country and develop them.
Yes.
And so for us at ASU, it was a great brand builder for the sport. I love triathlon. I'm a participant. You know that.
Yeah.
So I was an advocate, and I think for us, it's getting advocates not only in college athletics, but in businesses around the world to say, we want to commit to triathlon and we want to support it financially. We want to put sweat equity into it. So for us, it wasn't only about adding triathlon for our school. We got a donor who gave us over $100,000 because he cares about triathlon. Those are the types of things that we do. And we added men's hockey and women's lacrosse and some other sports at the same time. But the one I have to apologize to my hockey and lacrosse coach, the one I'm most proud of is triathlon.
And the pipeline, Barry, when you start adding collegiates, obviously that potentially is a pipeline to the Olympics, and maybe not so much for 2020, but 2024 and beyond.
It's a pipeline, but something else that Rocky's bringing is bringing the pipeline back a little bit, especially on the men's side. I think what we found through our college recruitment program, which you're very familiar with, the women have been phenomenal.
Yeah. Gold medalists, Katie Zafaris, and everything else.
Strongest women in the world.
No question.
And most of them come through the CRP. Zero on the men's side.
Right.
No success. nothing through CRP. So we had you had Jim Vance on just now, and Jim was part of our discussion on this, and we got to blow it up on the men's side, and we got to do some different things. But part of that is going back to the high school and middle schools.
You have to.
I mean, when did Alistair and Johnny start?
When they're 8, 9 years old.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've got to start focusing on that. And right now, overnight in the last 2 years, we have 120 high school programs, high school triathlon programs, 26, I think, regional championships or state championships. So already we're going into the high schools. We got to keep doing that, and that's where the focus needs to be with the men.
And beyond just the elite level, what I look at is we need to really connect with the youth on a different level than we ever have. I think what we it's great to have elites in high school, and that's wonderful. It's a great pipeline for us. But we need to be cool. We need to make triathlon cool among the younger generation.
It's sexy.
And I really feel like we have to be where they are, which right now is digital media, and we have to speak to them in their language. And that's what we're going to do from a national governing body standpoint, is we're going to change the way we market and promote through social media, through digital media, to really connect with that group. Because if we have a broad base of people who think it's cool and they participate in it, over time that's going to build us, new people like us, advocates long term. But we do have to reach them at an early age and then find those stars out of the people who fall in love with our sport.
The other aspect of this is your age group folks, right? You have our endurance entertainment marketplace, Tough Mudder, Spartan Race, Warrior Dash, Color Run. There's more people put on numbers than ever before, but there's more competition for the sport of triathlon, which is equipment heavy, cost heavy, and to a certain degree, we've got a swim that a lot of people are scared of, right? So how do you deal with that? We've got so much more competition than ever before.
Yeah, Bob, you and I have talked about this, is removing barriers from our sport. And I don't see them as competition, actually. I see them as a pipeline back and forth, and we should just lock arms and say we want to get people healthier.
How do we work together?
How do we work together? And so we have to rethink the way we do triathlon events. If it has to do with indoor triathlon, reverse triathlons, super sprints, and really, again, it's messaging, it's positioning of our sport. It's not about just Ironman, right? That's what people think psychologically. We have to say, no, anyone can do the sport. And we just need them to try one. Again, they will get the itch if they try one.
Well, and we know that it's a sexy sport, and we know that once people do, I've seen people do events, a 3-mile run, 10-mile bike, 150-yard swim in a pool, they consider them triathletes.
As they should.
As well, they should.
Yeah.
So that whole mantra of I need to do an Ironman can really turn people off.
Speaking your language, Bob. I mean, you've been saying this for years. You've been doing it for years in Southern California, and now I think you're going to see it a lot more
around the country.
Take it around the country. I mean, there's no question. The other big subtle difference is we're talking about just bringing people into the sport. We're not talking about making them USA Triathlon members. We're talking about getting people in a triathlon, whether it's at a YMCA, whether it's at a fitness club, whether it's whatever. Just tasting the love and the joy and the spirit of triathlon.
So for the race directors, because one of the things that concerns me, I was talking to a race director recently, he had 17 triathlons a few years ago. He's doing 4 this next year. Yeah. That's a real concern for me. And I think, when I talk to him, it's, gosh, I feel as a USA Triathlon member, I get athletes having to pay $15 for my event to do a one-day license, and my event's take an hour and a half, and the Ironman takes 17 hours, and they're paying the same $15. Is there a way to scale that so that it's important? We want people to be events to be members of USA Triathlon.
For sure.
And so, is there a way to do that where you can scale it?
Well, Bob, we have to rethink everything we're doing and reevaluate everything we're doing across the board. And this is one area that I'm looking at and looking at intently, because the way that I look at it is we can't treat everybody the same.
No.
But we also have to change the value proposition for race directors and members. So I would give the $50 to USA Triathlon. This is long before. I'd had years where I didn't race, and I still gave the money because I wanted to support it.
Right.
But what we've done is we've gone backwards a little bit. We focused on the transaction of being a member. And that is not a value. That is not. So we have to think about how do we bring value to race directors. One way we can do it is, regional promotions, geo-targeting promotions for race directors to promote their events to our members.
Exactly.
We have to help them build web pages to make it really easy for people to navigate their websites. We have to figure out ways, again, to promote within the communities and promote across different sports, running communities, cycling communities, to bring people to their events. So as a federation, that's our focus, and then bringing value and really getting people to want to love us and to want to support us, regardless of how many races they do, the distances, and then that way, the more support we have, the more we can offset youth participants, underprivileged, and be able to. I actually think there's a way to get our very $140,000 average household income of our membership to give back and help people who are in need and actually give them memberships as part of it. Give youth. I look at the Tom Shoes model, as I say. Buy a membership and you give one to a kid. That's a great model, I think. And that way, that eliminates another barrier that's in our sport right now.
What's interesting is, YMCA in San Diego, they set it up where any challenged athlete and their family gets a free YMCA membership because they want to give back. Not NCAA, LA 2028 coming up, and it's never too soon to start planning. What are some of the plans already? I know you got stuff in the works.
We do. It's funny, when we were talking with Rocky about this job, we talked about our vision and our strategic plan because
that we just did.
That you helped with, Bob.
Yes.
That you had a huge input in, and we talked. It's a 4-year plan, and Rocky kind of scoffed at it, and he said, "That sounds good, and I love what you're doing, but I want to talk about a 10-year plan because LA 2028 is so vital and important, and as a result." We're already talking with LA 2028 folks about putting on an event in the LA area, hopefully Long Beach, and a USAT event.
Yes.
USAT owned, managed, directed with the target 2028, and starting it as a large age group race, growing it into a World Cup, growing it into a WTS event, and growing it into the Olympics. So, and that would be branded, it would be huge, it would be big, and bring everybody together in that area.
That's the other side of it is the other part of the world is so different than we are. The Olympic rings resonate. When you go to Europe or Asia, they're like, we'll pay for 150 pros coming and racing, right? They'll pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
In the States, I remember meeting with the city of San Diego about the Olympic trials for triathlon.
Right.
And they're like, wait, you're going to bring 100 people here and you want us to block off roads in the summertime? Are you nuts? Because everybody's used to the rock and roll model, the Ironman model, where you're filling up its heads and beds.
Sure.
So do you see that as a limitation?
I see it as a huge opportunity. I know you do as well, Rocky.
Yeah, and I think, most Olympic sports, most sporting events have been a part of Super Bowls, All-Star games.
Yes.
They try to leave a legacy after the event. And Barry and I have talked a lot about this. We want to start the legacy now. We want to create that so they see value in it. If we have not only an elite race, but an age group race, where you bring out hundreds and even thousands of people at some point, they're going to see value in that. So when we have to close down roads for smaller events, they're going to say, well, remember the economic impact in our community? Remember the messaging they did? Remember that playground they cleaned up? Remember that YMCA they went and volunteered at? That's the value around the sport, not just the day of the event.
And probably stuff we haven't done enough to be able to quantify. I know, if you're Ironman, you're coming into Lake Placid. How many people are going there and staying in hotels in the months leading in that we don't know about?
Absolutely.
Right, and so it's like you're talking about the technology and being able to quantify anything and everything so people can actually see the value in what you're trying to do. Barry, for you, as someone who has been involved with this for so long, the kids programs and the youth programs at college and high school, sometimes when I looked at everything USA Triathlon was doing, I was overwhelmed. I was like, okay, it's better to focus on certain things and do them well and not try to be everything to everyone.
We do have a lot of programs. It's also something Rocky looked at and he's dealing with in his with his staff.
Yes.
And actually setting up a way of trying to focus and prioritize what's important, not to do away with a kids program or a women's program or whatever it is, but maybe there are priorities, and putting people responsible for that, right, Rocky?
Yeah, and we have a wonderful staff, and what I've seen so far is that they're just stretched too thin. They're trying to do everything and please everybody and be a part of everything, and we have to focus everything around our strategic plan. And really the number one focus is growing our sport.
Yes.
So if a program's not growing our sport or preparing us to grow our sport, we have to evaluate whether it should be on the sidelines and maybe come back later, whether it should be something that we do but not put a focus on, and really put all of our efforts, time, resources, on things that really matter and things that will move the dial.
What I have been seeing this summer, and it could be a great model for the other events around the country, the San Diego model with Cause Events. They've got, I sent you the list from the race, right? They've got a duathlon, they've got Olympic distance race, sprint distance race, Athena, Clydesdale, all these different categories. In this day and age, to be able to, for the timing company, it's no problem at all to make a few other medals, but their events are selling out.
Yeah.
And then the other thing they're doing is they're doing swim clinics and they're doing transition clinics and all the hard yards. We can talk technology all we want. It's really person to person and making people feel comfortable. Is that part of the plan as well?
Yeah, there's a lot more than just race day,
Right.
is what you're saying. And there's a lot more, and those are the tools that we need to give to our race directors. You talked about the value proposition for what are we doing for race directors.
Right.
And that's something, this guy's been in the job for 5 weeks. 5 weeks. And look at the language that's being spoken and talked to. He's talked to all the race directors. He's talked to our coaches. He's attended a coaches clinic this week. And, it's, again, one thing we haven't talked about is collaboration. And that was a key.
That was a big thing.
That was a big thing with our strategic plan, and it's putting our arms around everybody. So day one of Rocky's tenure in September was meeting with Derek, the CEO for USA Cycling.
Right.
Day two, he flew to Chattanooga to meet with Andrew Messick and his team. So, it's collaboration. It's working with everyone and working with the race directors and giving them tools that we know can help them be successful, which we haven't provided in the past.
Right.
And so it's ideas like you're sharing.
Yeah, and race directors are the heart and soul of our organization. They started our organization. And
No question.
so we really have to think about, and actually they're our best pathway to growth.
No
If they
question.
run the quality events that people
Yep.
love going to, multi-sport events where it's maybe not just one event as part of it, but they're connecting with all audiences, all levels of triathletes, that's the future. And so we have to do a better job of just helping them in general. And we really have to lock arms with anyone who wants to grow the sport in our country. Anyone at any level who wants to grow it, we're going to support them because no one's competition to us. There is no competition for a federation. If there is, we're not doing our jobs. We've lost our mission. We've lost who we're supposed to be. And so that's what we're going to get back to the focus of growing our community.
To me, the future is festivals, right? Tri-festivals, where you've got a 5K, you've got a swim, you've got all sorts, you've got kids, got everything else. And that's something where I think USAT, especially even with the USA Triathlon Foundation, could be working together to help the existing race directors expand the reach of their event and obviously expand the success of their events. Is that works as well?
I think you're absolutely right. I think at the ITU level, we saw the ITU Multi-Sport World Championships in Penticton this
Yes.
year, which were amazing.
Right.
I
They did a
mean,
great
you had,
job.
You had
Yeah.
3,500, 4,000 people from all over the world doing multiple events over several days.
Yes.
And just putting a lot of events and making it and having music at night and having
Yep.
a parade and having parties and just making it an event, not just going to a race.
Well, that's
And-
sort of what
and
this
that's-
is. What happens
that-
here with the swim last Saturday
Absolutely.
and the run on Sunday and all the stuff going on. So people feel part of something important.
Something important, something fun, and they're there. They're part of it. And, that's
Love it.
definitely what we're looking for.
Rocky, so excited to have you on. Barry, thanks for everything you do to make
Yeah,
our
you-
sport great. We love it. Rocky Harris and Mr. Barry Siff, Poncho Man. Take us out, my man.
I go on day. Chicken laughing on banana. It's breakfast with Bob. Woo!
Poncho Man!
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Bob. All right, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. I know it's, God, pretty fun.
I'm excited.